In 1612, on a small island called Ganryujima, Miyamoto Musashi arrived late to the most important duel of his life. His opponent, Sasaki Kojiro, the finest swordsman in Western Japan, master of the swallow cut, a technique so fast it was said to split a bird in flight, had been waiting for hours. The crowd had gathered. The tide had shifted. Kojiro stood on the beach, furious, humiliated, his composure already fractured by the waiting. Musashi stepped off the boat holding a bokken he had carved from his oar during the crossing. He had slept on the boat. He had eaten rice. He arrived unkempt, unhurried, and completely present. Kojiro drew first. He threw his scabbard into the sea, a gesture that said, "I will not need this again." A man who throws away his scabbard has committed to death rather than to victory. His mind was already performing theater. Musashi's mind was empty. The duel lasted less than 2 seconds. One strike. Kojiro fell. Now look at your hands. They do not hold a carved oak sword. They hold a glass rectangle. 170 grams of engineered compulsion. And it is winning. Every single day. Musashi faced 60 duels before the age of 30. 60 times. A living man with a sharpened blade tried to end his existence. And 60 times Musashi walked away. Not because he was the strongest, not because he was the fastest, because he had achieved something that you, sitting here, thumb hovering, have surrendered without even knowing there was a war. He had mastered his attention. The algorithm did not sneak up on you. It was invited in. You handed it the keys. You gave it your first hour of consciousness every morning. Before you spoke a word, before you saw sunlight, before your nervous system had time to remember who it was without stimulation. You gave it your last moments of awareness before sleep. You gave it your meals, your commutes, your silences, especially your silences, because silence is where you might have heard something true about yourself. And that is the one thing both you and the algorithm are afraid of. He spent his entire life finding the path that was genuinely his own, refusing every comfort, every institution, every shortcut. He never married. He never held a permanent position under a lord. The Dokodo, the 21 precepts he wrote 9 days before his death, begins with this: accept everything just the way it is. Not resignation. Clarity. You cannot look at reality. You need the feed. This video is not a motivational speech. It is not here to make you feel capable or inspired or seen. Motivation is for children. What you are going to receive in the next 70 minutes is a weapons audit. We are going to inspect every piece of your psychological armor and determine, without sentiment, what is steel and what is rust. The structure of this assault follows Musashi's own framework. The 5 rings: earth, water, fire, wind, and the void. Each one a dimension of mastery. Each one, when inverted, a dimension of your current slavery. By the end, you will either choose sovereignty or you will return to the scroll. There is no middle ground. Musashi had no middle ground on Ganryujima. You will have none here. Chapter 1. EARTH. The Audit of Reality. The way of the warrior is resolute acceptance of death. Go Rin No Sho. Book of Earth. Not the contemplation of death. Not the acknowledgement of death. Resolute acceptance. The foundation of everything Musashi built rested on a ground that most men refuse to stand on. The ground of reality. Unadorned. Without negotiation. Your foundation is not this ground. Your foundation is a landfill. Open your screen time report right now. Do not look away. If you do not have it enabled, you already know the answer. You disabled it because the answer was unbearable. Look at the number. 6 hours. 8 hours. Some of you. 10. Now perform this calculation. You are, let us say, 25 years old. The average human life in the developed world is approximately 78 years. You have, statistically, approximately 19,345 days remaining. If you spend 8 hours of each of those days on a screen for entertainment, not work, not creation, entertainment, you will spend 6,448 of those remaining days in digital sedation. That is 17.6 years. You will spend 17.6 years of your remaining life looking at other people live. That is not relaxation. That is a sentence. Musashi. Between his first duel at age 13, when he killed a traveling swordsman named Arima Kihei with a wooden staff, and his final confirmed duel at age 29, traveled on foot across feudal Japan. No roads as we understand them. No inns that would welcome a ronin without a lord. He slept in forests, beside rivers, in temple doorways when monks permitted it. He had no distractions. This was not incidental. It was load-bearing. Fake work. You have developed an entire category of behavior that feels like self-improvement but produces nothing. You watch workout videos. You have never once grown a muscle from watching a workout video. You consume financial advice content for hours each week. Your savings rate has not changed in 18 months. This is the deepest and most vicious lie that the digital environment has constructed for you. The simulation of progress. Your brain receives a genuine dopamine response from watching someone else train, from reading about cold exposure, from saving a post about stoicism to a collection you will never revisit. Do nothing that is of no use. Go Rin No Sho. 7 words. The most devastating audit tool ever constructed. Apply it to your last 24 hours. Not your last week, your last 24 hours. What did you do that was of no use? Crossed Swords Earth Protocol. The forensic audit. Step 1. The honest inventory. For exactly 1 week, record every use of your phone that is not a direct functional necessity. Not in a tracking app, but in a physical notebook. Every time you open a social media app, write the time, the platform, and the honest answer to, what was I avoiding when I reached for this? This is not about creating shame. This is about collecting intelligence. Musashi surveyed every battlefield before he fought on it. Step 2. The landfill naming. At the end of the week, name your 3 primary avoidance behaviors. The 3 emotional states that most reliably send your hand toward the glass rectangle. Boredom. Anxiety. The discomfort of a task that requires real thinking. Name them. A samurai names his opponents before the duel. An unnamed enemy is an undefeated enemy. Step 3. The replacement declaration. For each named avoidance behavior, designate a single physical substitute that takes less than 60 seconds to initiate. The hand that reaches for the phone reaches instead for the notebook, for the floor, for the doorframe, for a dead hang. The brain will resist ferociously in the first 72 hours. That resistance is not weakness. It is the sound of a structure being dismantled. Chapter 2. WATER. The Never Zero Principle. The spirit of defeating a man is the same for 10 million men. The strategist makes small things into big things, like building a great Buddha from a single foot of wood. Go Rin No Sho. Book of Water. 1 foot of wood. 1 drop of water. 1 day without surrender. You fail your resolutions not because you are weak, You fail them because you have been taught to think in revolutions rather than erosions. You announce, starting Monday, no social media. This announcement feels extraordinary. For about 14 hours. Then the withdrawal begins. Not metaphorical withdrawal. Neurochemical withdrawal. The dopamine receptors that have been flooded daily begin to register deficit. By Tuesday night, you are in bed scrolling content you do not even want to see. This cycle has a name in behavioral neuroscience. The abstinence violation effect. The moment you break a total prohibition, the prohibition collapses entirely. Because the identity you built it on, I am someone who does not scroll, has been falsified. The never zero principle. No day ends in total surrender. Not in the abolition of the behavior. In the refusal to end the day without one act of sovereignty over it. Today you scrolled for 4 hours. Before you sleep, you will put the phone in another room for 30 minutes and sit with what comes up. Tomorrow you scrolled for 3 hours and 55 minutes. 5 minutes less. The difference is invisible. The direction is absolute. Musashi spent years developing what practitioners of his school call can. The deep, penetrating vision that sees through surface to structure. It is the residue of years of consistent, incremental practice during which progress is entirely invisible. The algorithm understands this about you. It has studied the exact point at which humans abandon long-term goals in favor of immediate reward, the hyperbolic discounting curve, and it has engineered every element of its interface to exploit that curve. The variable reward schedule of the social media feed is not accidental design. It is the precise application of B.F. Skinner's operant conditioning research. The same research used to design slot machines. Applied to your attention. Intermittent reinforcement. You do not know which scroll will deliver the reward. The unpredictability of the reward makes the behavior more resistant to extinction. This is applied behavioral science. Deployed against you without your informed consent. Water flows around this obstacle. It does not argue with the slot machine. It simply reduces the time spent at the machine by 5 minutes. Then 5 more. The rock does not notice the first 10,000 drops. It notices the canyon. Crossed swords water protocol. The 5-minute erosion. Rule. The daily minimum reduction. Every day, your discretionary screen time must be less than the day before. Not by an hour. By 5 minutes minimum. That is the only rule. Step 1. The Micro Victory Library. Create a physical list. On paper. Posted somewhere visible. Of 10 actions that take between 30 seconds and 3 minutes and require no motivation. Examples. 1 set of push-ups to failure. 3 deep breaths at an open window. Writing 1 sentence in a notebook. Making tea without checking the phone while it steeps. Reading 1 page of a physical book. Step 2. The withdrawal mapping. When the urge to scroll arrives. With the physical insistence of hunger. Name what preceded it. Were you mid-task at a point of difficulty? Experiencing an emotion you did not want to process. In transit. And the gap felt intolerable. Map the geography of your urges. Water finds the lowest point because it has mapped the terrain. Step 3. The 90-second rule. Neuroscientist Jill Bolte Taylor's research established that the full neurochemical cycle of emotion, from trigger to dissolution, if you do not feed it, lasts approximately 90 seconds. The urge to scroll, if not acted upon, will peak and begin to subside within 90 seconds. Time it once. Physically time it. Watch the second hand. Water does not destroy the obstacle in one pass. It simply outlasts it. Chapter 3. FIRE. Rage as productive fuel. In battle, if you make your opponent flinch, you have already won. Go Rin No Sho. Book of Fire. The opponent flinches when he senses something in you that he cannot calculate. An unpredictability. An absence of fear. A willingness to damage yourself in the pursuit of damage to him. In samurai combat, this was called sutemi. The spirit of throwing oneself away. Committing so completely to the attack that survival becomes a secondary concern. You need to develop sutemi against your own weakness. The critical error that every self-improvement framework makes is treating the phone as a neutral tool that you have developed an unfortunate relationship with. The phone is not neutral. The relationship is not unfortunate. It is a designed outcome, executed against you with the full resources of some of the highest paid engineers and behavioral psychologists on the planet. And you are losing to them. Not the performative rage of someone who reads a quote and feels temporarily stirred. Not the comfortable anger of blaming Silicon Valley. As if the engineers held you down. They did not hold you down. You sat down willingly. The rage I am asking you to locate is the cold kind. The kind that does not dissipate into motivation but calcifies into something structural. Musashi lost his father young. He was raised by an uncle who was a monk. He was wild, possibly violent, certainly uncontrollable. He killed his first man at 13. A trained adult with a wooden weapon. Whatever drove him in that first duel. It was not inspiration. It was something raw and indigestible that he had the discipline to transform. Over decades. Into mastery. The version of you that could have existed. Not in fantasy, but in statistical probability. If you had spent the last 3 years directing your actual attention toward your actual goals. That man is not inspirational. He is your indictment. He is standing somewhere in the probability space of your life. Looking back at this moment. Understanding exactly what decision you are making right now. He is not angry at you. He is past anger. He is simply the evidence of what you chose not to become. Crossed Swords Fire Protocol. The Cold Fury Practice. Step 1. The Morning Reckoning. 60 seconds. Before any screen contact in the morning. Sit upright in bed and ask yourself, not rhetorically, what did yesterday's choices build toward? Not what you felt about yesterday. What it built. Construction is the only measure the fire recognizes. If the answer is nothing, record it in one word in a physical log. That word is your fuel for the next 16 hours. Step 2. The reflex interrupt. Your phone reaching reflex is faster than conscious thought. When you feel the impulse in the body, before it becomes a thought, clench the fist of your dominant hand hard for 3 seconds. This breaks the motor pattern. It is crude. It works. Step 3. The anger journal. 2 minutes before sleep. Write 1 sentence. Not a reflection. Not gratitude. A single honest sentence about what you allowed the algorithm to take from you today. Make it specific. Not, I wasted time. Write, I spent 40 minutes watching content about discipline instead of writing the chapter. Name what was stolen. Name what stole it. Step 4. The productive fury redirect. When the rage is genuinely present, not performed, redirect it into the hardest physical or cognitive task available to you in that moment. Not after you have cooled down. While you are burning. Do not wait for the anger to resolve into motivation. Use the anger itself as the energy source. Chapter 4. WIND. Study the enemy schools. In strategy, you must know the ways of other schools. Go Rin No Sho. Book of Wind. This is the chapter where I am going to treat the algorithm with the respect that it deserves. Which is to say, the cold, analytical respect you give a lethal opponent. Not hatred, not moral outrage. Precision. You are going to learn exactly how this is done to you. School 1. TikTok and the dopamine loop architecture. TikTok's recommendation algorithm. The For You page is not, as many people believe, primarily a content recommendation system. It is an emotional state optimization engine. Its primary variable is not the content you say you like. It is the content that keeps you from closing the app at the point when you intended to. The average TikTok video is between 15 and 60 seconds. This duration was not chosen for creative reasons. It was calibrated against attention data to deliver the maximum number of dopamine spikes per minute of viewing. Each video's ending creates a micro gap. A brief moment of resolution followed immediately by the beginning of the next piece of content, designed to re-engage before the resolution has fully landed. You are never allowed to feel genuinely satisfied. The algorithm learns your leaving signals, the behavioral patterns that precede app closure, and adjusts content delivery to intervene before those signals complete. If you tend to close the app when you get 3 consecutive videos on a topic you dislike, the algorithm will not give you 3 consecutive videos on topics you dislike. It has learned this about you. Specifically, not you in a demographic. You, individually, from the behavioral data your thumbs have provided. This is not speculation. It is documented in internal research from ByteDance and has been described in congressional testimony. You are being managed by a system that knows your leaving patterns better than you know your own impulses. School 2. Instagram and the variable reward schedule. Instagram's architecture is built on intermittent reinforcement. The same principle that makes slot machines more compelling than vending machines. A vending machine gives you a predictable reward for a predictable input. You lose interest quickly. A slot machine gives you unpredictable rewards at unpredictable intervals. You cannot stop. The notification system delivers social validation rewards on an unpredictable schedule. You do not know when the next reward will arrive. You do not know if the next post will perform well or be ignored. This unpredictability is the mechanism. Instagram also employs the pull to refresh mechanic. The gesture of pulling the feed downward to load new content. This gesture is physically identical to the arm motion of pulling a slot machine lever. The designer who first implemented it, Lauren Brichter, has publicly acknowledged in interviews that he modeled it on slot machine interaction design. You are pulling a lever. The lever has been designed to feel satisfying. School 3. YouTube and the autoplay apparatus. YouTube's most powerful weapon is the one that requires the least action from you. Autoplay. When a video ends, the next one begins after 5 seconds. You do not have to choose. You have to actively choose not to continue. This inverts the normal structure of volitional behavior. In most situations, action requires decision. Inaction is the default. YouTube autoplay makes consumption the default and requires a decision. A small, effortful decision to stop. And willpower? As Roy Baumeister's research on ego depletion established, is a finite daily resource. You are not the customer of these platforms, you are the product. The customer is the advertiser. What is being sold is your captured, retained, re-engaged attention, measured in seconds, priced per impression. The first counter is to never forget. Every time you open the app, you are entering a dojo. The dojo is controlled by practitioners who have studied your weaknesses with resources you cannot match. You enter knowing this, or you do not enter. Crossed Swords Wind Protocol. The Tactical Entry System. Step 1. The Declared Intent. You will not open any social media platform without first writing, physically, on paper, the specific purpose of this visit and the specific maximum duration. I am going to respond to messages from clients. Maximum 12 minutes. Write this before you open the app. This transforms your entry from consumption mode to task mode at the neurological level. Step 2. The cold interface. Remove all social media apps from your home screen. Not from your phone. From your home screen. They must now require 3 intentional actions to access. This friction inserts a gap between impulse and action. In that gap, the declared intent can intervene. Step 3. The autoplay abolition. Disable autoplay on every platform that offers the option. Where it cannot be disabled, install browser extensions that remove the recommended content column, the autoplay function, and infinite scroll. Do not fight the mechanism. Remove the mechanism. Step 4. The neutral observer practice. Once per week, spend 10 minutes in a public space with your phone in your pocket and your eyes on the people around you. Watch the neck positions. Watch the facial expressions of people mid-scroll. You are not judging them. You are using them as a mirror. Use the recognition as intelligence. Step 5. The enemy school debrief. After any session longer than 15 minutes. Before closing the app, answer 3 questions and write them down. What did I come to do? Did I do it? What did the algorithm give me that I did not ask for? The third question is the most important. Name the tangents. They are not accidents. They are moves. Chapter 5. The Void. Discipline as Identity. The void is nothingness. By knowing things that exist, you can know that which does not exist, that is the void. Go Rin No Sho. Book of the Void. 4 pages. Not because he ran out of things to say. Because the void cannot be transmitted through words. It can only be pointed at. And then you must find it yourself. It is not the absence of desire. Musashi desired excellence with every fiber of his structure. He simply did not confuse the desire for excellence with the desire for comfort, validation, or recognition. He did not write the Go Rin No Sho to be read. He wrote it because the writing was itself an act of mastery. The void is the state in which discipline is no longer experienced as discipline. You are trying to build willpower. Willpower is the wrong architecture. Willpower is a reservoir. And reservoirs run dry. Decision fatigue. Ego depletion. The predictable deterioration of self-control under cognitive load. All of it converges on the same conclusion. If you need willpower to manage your relationship with your phone, you will eventually run out. And the phone will win. The void is not a reservoir. It is a well. A reservoir depends on what falls into it. A well draws from what is already beneath. Musashi, toward the end of his life, was not fighting against temptation. He had no temptation to fight. The Dokudo, written 9 days before his death, when he was in the final stages of what appears to have been cancer, lists 21 precepts for living. They are not aspirational. They are descriptive. He is not writing about who he is trying to be. He is writing about who he is. Not a goal, a fact, a description of his internal landscape. That is the void. It is when the identity has fully absorbed the practice. So that the practice no longer requires effort because it is no longer experienced as a choice. There is no decision to not scroll. Any more than there is a decision to not put your hand in a fire. Silence is the territory of the void. Not the silence of the phone on airplane mode while you anxiously count the minutes. The silence of a man who has no use for noise, who does not experience gaps between inputs as problems to be solved with stimulation. This is where your actual thinking happens. This is where the ideas that are genuinely yours, not curated, not algorithmic, emerge. The reason you have never heard these ideas is that you have never given them the environment in which they can be heard. The phone is loud. Your thoughts are quiet. Put the phone down. Crossed swords void protocol. The empty guard practice. Step 1. The void window. Every day, for a minimum of 20 minutes, you will exist without any input device, any music, any podcast, any content of any kind. Not meditating. You do not need a technique. Sitting, walking, lying on the floor if necessary. You are not looking for anything to happen. You are creating the conditions in which things can happen that cannot happen in noise. Step 2. The identity declaration. Write one sentence, once, and post it somewhere you see it every day. Not an inspiring quote. Not someone else's words. Your own declaration. I am someone who builds in silence. One sentence. Yours. The identity statement works not by inspiring you, but by creating a standard that your behavior is now measured against. Step 3. The presence audit. Once per day. Notice. Genuinely notice. One thing in your physical environment that you would not have seen if you had been looking at a screen. The grain of the table. The quality of afternoon light. The specific sound of the building settling. This is a recalibration of the perceptual system that the feed has narrowed to the width of a phone screen. Step 4. The naturalness test. Day 90. After 90 days of consistent practice across all 5 protocols, remove all external enforcement for 1 week. No app limits. No phone in other rooms, no declared intents. Simply live and observe what you do by default. If the practice has begun to become structural, your defaults will have shifted. Not perfectly, not completely, but measurably. The invisible stones. Radical elimination. Think lightly of yourself and deeply of the world. Dokodo. Precept 3. There are stones buried in the architecture of your digital life that you cannot see but that determine the entire shape of the structure built above them. These are not habits. They are needs. Deeper structural needs that the algorithm has learned to exploit with surgical precision. Invisible stone 1. Approval. You post to exist in the eyes of others. This is not a minor vanity. It is a foundational ontological dependency. You require external confirmation of your existence to feel that your existence is real. Every like is a proof of presence. The moment engagement drops, anxiety rises. Because at some deep level you have come to believe that unseen equals unreal. Musashi never sought a lord. In feudal Japan, this was economically and socially catastrophic. A samurai without a lord was a ronin. Stigmatized. Unwelcome. Musashi chose this deliberately. He could not serve a lord because service would mean his swordsmanship was in service to someone else's purposes. You are existing in the algorithm's story. You are a character in a narrative whose author is an optimization function. Kill the approval need. Not by becoming indifferent to human connection. By relocating the source of your reality from external confirmation to internal action. You are real because you build. Because you decide. Because you execute. Invisible stone 2. Comparison. The feed is a curated highlights reel. You know this intellectually. You have known it for years. It has made no difference to the emotional response you experience when you see someone your age, apparently living a life more complete than yours. The knowledge does not interrupt the response because the response is not cognitive. It is limbic. The comparison mechanism was designed to assess social status relative to your immediate community. Approximately 150 people whose full reality you had access to. Now you have access to the highlight reels of 10,000 people simultaneously, with no access to their actual suffering, their actual cost. Cut the source. Not out of self-protection, out of accuracy. The data is corrupted. A general who receives corrupted battlefield intelligence does not continue to make decisions based on it. Your better data is your own work, measured against your own previous work, over time. Invisible Stone 3. Perfectionism as procrastination. I'll start when I have the right setup. I'll begin the project when I have more clarity. I'll commit to the protocol after the holidays. Today is victory over yourself of yesterday. Tomorrow is your victory over lesser men. Go Rin No Sho. Today, not the perfect day. Not the Monday. Today, perfectionism is not high standards. It is the deployment of high standards as a reason to never begin. It is procrastination wearing the armor of excellence. And it is extremely comfortable, because while you are planning the perfect beginning, you can feel like someone who cares deeply about doing things right, without the discomfort of actually doing them. Throw your phone in another room. Now. Not at the end of the video. Now. The call to arms. The oath of the sovereign. Musashi died in 1645. In the Raigand cave on Mount Iwato, where he had spent the last 2 years of his life. He had been ill for some time. Possibly cancer. Possibly a pulmonary condition. The historical record is imprecise. 9 days before his death, he composed the Dokudo. Then he composed a short final statement. Then he sat upright, in the posture of a warrior, and he died. He did not die reaching for anything. He did not die incomplete. He died in the posture of a man who had over 60 years of deliberate practice and radical commitment. Become precisely what he intended to become. That is the measure, not the achievements. The alignment between intention and actuality. The absence of reaching? You are reaching, constantly. The phone is the material form of the reaching. The perpetual motion towards something that will resolve the discomfort of the present moment. But the present moment, undistracted, is where your actual life is occurring. Everything else is either memory or anticipation. The present is the only territory in which you can actually act. Sovereignty is not the elimination of desire. It is the alignment of desire with action, and action with reality, without the mediation of a feed, a notification, or an algorithm that has studied your weaknesses more thoroughly than you have studied your own strengths. Stop asking for permission. Stop waiting for the right conditions. Stop consuming the performance of other people's lives and begin building the architecture of your own. The void does not ask for readiness. It rewards presence. Musashi did not know if he would survive his next duel. He stepped onto the battlefield anyway. Fully present. Fully committed. His mind clear of everything except the reality in front of him. Step into the reality in front of you. You have heard something true in these 70 minutes. Not something that made you feel capable, but something that made you see clearly. Write the oath in the comments. Not a paragraph, not an explanation. One word.